Hi friends, it's Heather with Running with Scissors, and today we are working on It's in the Box number 58. And this one is titled Resin and Glass Painted Canvas. And you can see right here I have a sample of one. Now there are two styles that you are able to do on this, and I did both because I wanted to show you what both look like. So we'll get to the other one in just a second. But while I am showing this to you and tipping it, I can see on the camera a couple things I wanted to point out to you. First of all, isn't this just the cutest thing ever? I absolutely adore this project, and I love painting pumpkins freehand because they're so forgiving and they're so easy to paint. I think they're probably one of the easiest things that you can paint freehand, so it's probably one of the best projects to learn on. And don't be scared, we're gonna go through this together, and I promise you that it's gonna turn out great, and I just don't want you to judge your work until you're all the way done with it. Okay, so back to showing this to you. We have this in the notes, in the instructions of your box, but while I'm tipping this, you can see that there's some areas of the canvas that the resin did not get to, and you can only see that when you tip it to the light. All right, so don't panic if this happens to yours, because I promise you, flat like this where there's not a lot of glare, you cannot see it. Okay, now there are a couple reasons that happens, and one of them is that resin is self-leveling. So if your project is not completely level, the resin is going to flow toward the lowest side, right? Makes sense. So when we do this, you know, canvas is just it's just stretched on the wood, and so it has some give to it, and so the resin is going to tend to move a little bit off of some areas, but I just don't want you to worry about that on this first project that we do. So you can see even after we've done several projects, we still have that problem. And I did read online that lots of artists have similar issues, and there's just no great and like fix-all fix to them. Okay, so let's be done talking about that and let's just move on. All right, so we're going to do one of two of these, and the one that I'm going to do on the demonstration for the tutorial is obviously not this one. This one I did yesterday to show you what you could do. Now the way that we're going to do them is exactly the same. It's just one pumpkin will be straight up and down, and one color, and one is on an angle, and this color, and you have everything you need to choose whichever pumpkin you want to do. All right, so it's no secret, we're on box number 58. This is August of 2025, and this is Resin and Glass Painted Canvas. All right, so I'm just gonna set this aside, and we are going to move on, and we're going to see everything that we need, and then we're gonna look at what's in our box. So you're gonna want a paper towel and a water cup. You're gonna need a tray or a paper plate, or you can use your box. And you're gonna need a toothpick and an ink pen or a pencil and a pair of scissors, and of course baby wipes are always handy. Alrighty, so now let's see, let me just close that lid so I can do the big reveal, and let's see what's in this month's It's in the Box. All right, so we have these cute little boxes that we got for this kit this month because we had a whole lot of stuff going into it, and we knew that some of it was not going to fit in the shallow pizza box, so we've got a little bit bigger box. Okay, first and foremost, you're going to have your written instructions, and as always, mine are just kind of roughed in. Nothing is complete. You'll have the QR code, which led you to this video, and there'll be a separate page, I think, with pictures of both of them, because I can't put it on this and do it justice. So we'll just do a separate page. Okay, now your instructions are going to be two-sided. You're going to have to flip yours over to get this side. I just printed mine single-sided for now. And these pictures might change based on how this goes. Probably not, but you never know. All right, you are going to have a bag, And in that bag is going to be your patterns. You'll have 2 patterns. You'll have this pumpkin here, which you did not see the sample of, and then this pumpkin here, which you did see that I did the demo of. This is the one we're gonna be doing on the video. And then also in your bag, you will have a plastic table cover that you will use later. I won't have mine because I just used my paper from the studio. You have a piece of graphite paper that is to transfer our pattern to our canvas. And then you have a whole bunch of goodies in here. You have a bag of resin. It will be part A and part B. And they're just small bottles, but it's way more resin than you will need. We will not even use all of this. So you can keep the rest and perhaps you can practice later, okay? So we won't even mix all of that. You have a bag of beads, seed beads, and crushed glass in a variety of colors. You have a bag of paint in a variety of colors. Now we put our paint in envelopes this time. These are heat sealed envelopes and they have a notch at the other end and you're just gonna tear that notch off and that's how you get your paint out. You have a bag of 3 paintbrushes, a micron pen. A micron pen is like a paint marker, but it's oil or acrylic based. And I bought acrylic this time. So this, anything that's not oil based or acrylic based will run under resin, but because this micron pen is acrylic, it will not run under resin, all right? So we're gonna do that for we're gonna use our micron pens for some fine touches. And then you have an epoxy stir stick or your resin stir stick. It's just a popsicle stick. And then you have your epoxy measuring cup and a pair of rubber gloves to wear while you do that. You have 4 small cups to put your beads and your crushed glass in. And then you have 4 tall cups, which will be the support for your canvas when we're pouring our resin. And then last but certainly not least, you have an 8x8 stretched canvas. All right, so we're just gonna set our box aside and we're gonna put our canvas in front of us. And we are going to decide which pattern you want to make. Do you want to do the one I showed you in the demo, this one here, or do you want to do this whole pumpkin, which just is tipped upright and not sideways? All right, now because I did the tipped one already, we're going to do this one for the video. I'm just gonna take my scissor and I'm going to cut out my square here. It's sized to match my canvas. Now you don't really have to cut it out if you don't want to. You can just use it whole. All right. And then I'm going to take my graphite paper and I'm going to put it shiny side down on my canvas and I'm going to lay my pattern over top of it. And I'm just going to try to make sure that I get my pumpkin, the edges of my paper square with the edges of my canvas. That's why I cut mine out, because it is that square on the outside of your pumpkin was sized to match the edge of your canvas. Now, you don't want to move too much on this graphite paper, because graphite paper, when it's fresh and new, as ours is, it will transfer a lot of that graphite to the canvas, and you don't want to have to cover that all up with paint. So I would say just press minimally if you can. Take a pencil or a pen, or you can even use an embossing tool. You can use the wrong end of a paintbrush. You can use pretty much anything with a dull point. And you are going to trace your pumpkin onto your canvas. You don't have to trace very hard. You don't have to be an excellent tracer. You kind of just want to get the general shape of the pumpkin and the lines, the divided spines. I did go a little bit out of line there. That's okay. I'm not going to stress it. Remember what I said earlier, that pumpkins are the most forgiving thing you can paint. So we're just gonna let our pumpkin forgive us. But right now I am transferring that graphite to the canvas so that I know where to paint my pumpkin. Now, if you don't want to do this and you just want to freehand a pumpkin, you could freehand a pumpkin. Okay, that's it for that. We no longer need our pattern. You can keep it if you want to buy more canvas and do this on your own. And there we go. Our pumpkin is transferred. And your graphite paper will stay good for a long, long time. So just fold that shiny side in, charcoal side out, and you will be able to use this for multitudes of things for a long while to come. Okay, so now we are going to paint. And you have to decide what colors you're going to paint. Now, we gave you the option of doing a turquoise pumpkin or an orange pumpkin. And because I did an orange pumpkin for the first one, I'm going to do turquoise for the second one. So I'm going to take my tray and I'm going to put some turquoise paint on it. And I'm also going to put white on it. Pretty much the only color I'm not going to use is orange. However, I will tell you that orange streaks through a turquoise pumpkin looks amazing. So you could just combine all the colors really if you wanted to. Now you have way more paint than you need. These envelopes hold surprisingly a lot of paint, but I'm just going to squeeze out a little bit. You see I'm just tearing the corner off. They're notched. Just tearing the corner off and then squeezing out some of that paint. Now I'm going to use both of these colors because, once again, I know I'm a broken record. One of my favorite things to paint is pumpkins. And I love that pumpkins are so versatile and they have so many great colors that you can paint, and they just look awesome. So there we go. I'm going to put all those colors on. Now my stem of my pumpkin, on the first one I did it green, but I gave you guys brown as well because sometimes, you know, pumpkin stems are brown. And on this particular one, I think I'm gonna, you know what, I just don't know. Well, I'm gonna put both green and brown on my tray here because I'm not really sure what I'm gonna do. But I know that I don't really love this green paint. It's very bright, but for economical reasons, we're using acrylic paint today. Now, the paint that we use in the studio paint is a latex craft paint. And the problem with that is it dries super, super fast. And for this, we kind of want our paint to stay fluid for a little while. So we use acrylic when we're painting on canvas. All right, so I'm gonna put both. Now this green, back to what I was originally saying, this green paint is too bright for my taste. I don't like it. However, I can quickly change the color to a green that I prefer by mixing it with some brown, and then I can also mix it with a little bit of white after that to tone it or lighten it up a little bit. So I'm going to make it less bright by adding brown, and then I'm going to add a little white to lighten it. So the only color I'm not going to be using is the orange color this time around. But once again, you could put orange in as well and it would look great. Okay, on your instructions. I tell you where to put light paint versus dark paint, okay, if you really want to follow the instructions. Half the fun with pumpkins is not following the instructions. So I'm just going to paint. I don't want you to stress it. So I'm going to show you how easy it is just to paint a pumpkin. All right, I'm going to start out, now I'm just using house brushes because we have them, but you, of course, are going to bust open your new packet of brushes. And I'm going to start with, I don't even know, what am I going to start with? I think I'm going to take some of this lighter tealish color and I'm going to mix it with some white here, and I'm just going to lighten it up a little bit. And I'm going to paint my pumpkin this color, my whole pumpkin, okay? I've kind of got the camera a little bit away from me, so I'm way up here on my table, and I'm I'm gonna try to make sure I stay in the frame here. All right, I'm just gonna paint my whole pumpkin. Not my stem, just my pumpkin pieces here. My pumpkin flesh. How about that? My pumpkin flesh. Now, acrylic on canvas takes a little more paint than you're probably used to painting with, but it really doesn't take that much paint. Now you can see that I'm not really staying in the lines that much. Nope, not really staying in the lines that much. That's okay. I'll probably say it so many times during this video that you'll be sick of hearing it, but pumpkins are forgiving. And I'm gonna kind of end up losing where my pumpkin spines were, but we'll just work them back in. If you're super concerned about it, you can always go back in after your pumpkin is dry here, if you want to wait for that, and you can draw them in over top of this paint. I'm not going to do that. Okay, so as simple as that, in just a couple of minutes or less there, we've got the base of our pumpkin, okay? So now comes the fun part. You can see I don't have any white canvas showing, which is what I didn't want when it comes to my pumpkin. Like, of course there's white canvas back there, but you know, no white canvas inside my pumpkins. Okay. So now we're going to, I got a little bit of orange in my brush from earlier. I didn't do a very good job, so I'm going to rinse that out real quick. All right, so now we're going to start adding some of the darker color in. Now you can follow the guide on the instructions if you really want to care about shadow and all of that. I don't really care. So I'm going to grab a little bit of this darker teal here, and I'm going to mix that in. And I'm just going to paint my pumpkin until I like the way it looks. And if you have to like look at some pumpkins online, or if you want to look at the pictures of the ones that we put on, then go ahead and do that. But I'm going to start with my wide brush, but you're going to see that I'm going to switch over to my narrower brush in just a minute. I'm going to come in and I'm going to do a swipe down the outside edge of my center round circle. And then I'm going to grab a little bit of white on that same brush. I'm not rinsing or anything. Not rinsing. Just grabbing paint, just having fun with it. And I'm going to come around. And now I'm just going to blend that in. And I'm going to grab a little bit more white, just to lighten that side up a little. I'm going to not blend it all the way. You'll never see me blend all the way. I like pumpkins to look streaky. All right, I'm gonna leave it. And I'm gonna move to the next spline over. And same thing, I'm gonna grab that blue that I made a little bit more. Actually, I'm gonna switch brushes because I wanna get a little bit thinner. So I'm gonna switch to my middle brush here. And if I have to go back to my other brush, I just will. But okay, so I'm grabbing that center color that I made, and I'm gonna come along and grab and make the outside spline again. You can see where you can see from down here where you kind of need to be, and you might be able to see your graphite markings through your paint. Just like that. I'm gonna grab a little white on my brush and I'm gonna come to the inside. And then I'm just gonna start blending it in. I'm gonna go back and grab some of that darker color. So cute. Okay, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm just gonna come back and I'm gonna grab that color that I mixed there, that center dark color, and I'm gonna start on this side here. And I'm gonna grab a little bit of that straight teal in there. Oh, I love it, I love it. And some white towards the outside. Oh, so cute. I just love pumpkins. Okay. And then we're gonna move over to the other side of the pumpkin. And we're gonna paint this guy. These two. And then we're gonna work on the last section. I grabbed a little white because I thought it was blending too much with that other section there, so. And then I just grabbed a little bit of the darker color again to go to the outside. All right, our pumpkin, the flesh part, is essentially done, okay? But now we're just going to work in some more varying shades here. And again, there's no right or wrong. I want you just to paint it until you like it. And I don't want you to judge it too much. Remember I said in the beginning, don't judge your work too much. Don't judge your work. Just wait until it's all done. All right, I'm just gonna come in and just do some. Get some dark in the middle here. If your brush isn't moving too easily on your canvas, it's because you don't have enough paint on it. All right, I love it. I'm gonna leave it. I like the way that it looks. I don't know. I feel like sometimes I just get to a point where I'm just like, yep, that works for me. I'm just trying to even out this side. I don't even know why I did that, but okay, there we go. So now I don't want to leave this white back here. You can if you want to. I don't want to. I want mine painted. So I'm going to do this before I do the stem. And I was thinking I was just going to do it a super, super pale shade of blue. And you could do that. You could do a super, super pale shade of blue. But now that I was sitting here thinking about it, I think I'm going to do it a really, really pale shade of green. So I'm just going to take my brush, and I've got my big brush, and I'm going to come over to my white area over here, and I'm going to mix that little teeny bit of green paint in my white. And I'm just going to mix it until it reaches the shade that I really like. And I just wanted it to be very pale. So that's pretty pale to me. So I'm just going to come and I'm going to just paint this outside around my pumpkin. And I'm going to paint around my stem. I'm getting really close to my pumpkin edge. Sometimes I turn my brush the other direction so I can just kind of drag it along and get up close to it. You can switch brushes as needed. And I'm not painting the side of my canvas, but by all means, if you want to, go ahead. And then I just gotta get the underside of the pumpkin here. This is a great opportunity to clean up any pumpkin overflow that you might have had. I got a little bit down here. I'm not gonna worry about it too much. I tend not to stress things, if you guys haven't figured that out already with all these videos. And then just a little bit left. And I have just enough paint. All right. Okay, so there's our pumpkin and our background, and now we just have to paint our stem. And I'm going to clean out my medium brush there. I want to make sure it's clean good because I don't want blue in my stem. or teal in my stem. And as I was painting, I decided I was going to paint my stem brown. So I'm going to just use my brown paint here. And I'm going to come in and paint my stem. Okay, now if you want your stem darker, you have to wait for it to dry, or you can blow dry it, and then you can put another coat of paint on it. Okay, so now the next thing we have to do is we have to draw our pumpkin stem down into the spine of the pumpkin a little bit, because you know the stems kind of come down over top of that pumpkin. So you can take your small liner brush and just roll it into your paint, and make sure that your pumpkin paint is dry. I can see mine is a little wet. I might end up, you know, regretting this a little bit here, but we'll see how it works out. I would just hit it with a hairdryer real quick if you're not certain. That way you don't have to have regrets. So I'm just gonna come down the spine a little bit into a point. Just like that. And I'm gonna do the same thing. I don't see I hit a wet spot there, so I have to fill that back in. Okay. All right. Now we're gonna use that same brush, and we're gonna come and now we're gonna draw our little wispy stems, Okay, you can practice on your table cover first if you are worried about this part. But basically, I'm just taking, let's say this is the stem of my pumpkin. I'm gonna just take my liner brush, and I'm gonna just come out and not think about it too much. I'm gonna do a circle and flip around. Same thing, I'm gonna grab another section, and maybe I just come up, do a circle, and I'm up. Okay, simple, simple. Don't overthink it. I'm just wiping that up so I don't drag my canvas through wet paint. All right, so here we are. I'm gonna come off this pumpkin stem and do a swoop, just like that. I'll load my paint back up. Same thing, gonna come up. And I kind of missed this section, so I'm gonna come back and grab it. And then I'm gonna come over here, I'm gonna do the same thing. Let's go like this. And one more. All right, and that's it. How cute. Oh, I love, love, love. Okay, that's the hard part. That's the hard part. Now we have to make sure that this guy is dry, dry, dry. All right, so I want you to take a break from the video and I want you to dry your pumpkin with a hairdryer, or I want you to come back in a couple of hours. I'll see you back here when your pumpkins are dry. Okay, we're back with dry pumpkins. And now we are going to use that Micron pen. And I didn't want to use a brand new Micron pen when I have plenty of suitable pens in the studio. So I'm just using a acrylic paint marker, which remember I said it has to be acrylic or oil underneath resin so it won't run. And now we're just gonna add some fine details. So this is where I want to draw in, maybe define the edge of my stem. So I'm just gonna come along the outside edge of my stem here. And I'm just outlining it. That's all I'm doing. I'm just keeping it nice and thin. And then up here, I'm just gonna do like this little curly Q. So it's like the top of the pumpkin. You can see that. And then same thing down here where it kind of goes down into the spine of the pumpkin. I'm just going to outline that. All right, and then in my stem, I'm just gonna kind of come up and draw some lines to make it look kind of woody. And then in my little wispies, I'm just gonna trace inside of those, just a quick little line. See, I don't overthink it. Yep, I went out a couple of times. That's all right. And there's that. Okay, now we're gonna do the same thing to the pumpkin. I just want to pretty much define the sections, the pumpkin sections. You can do one smooth, fluid draw if you want. I tend to sketch a lot. I don't want to go back over top of this like with my hand. You can see I'm left-handed. I'm left-handed when I draw and write. And it poses a challenge sometimes if you don't think ahead. But I don't want to get my hand in my Micron pen. I don't want to smudge it. Now, you might consider using a Sharpie for this. I would caution you against a Sharpie. A Sharpie is water-based generally. I know it doesn't sound like, you know, you don't think of a Sharpie being water-based, but they are. And so I haven't tried it, but I hear that it runs under resin. I'll just accept the fact that it runs under resin and not use a Sharpie. All right, and then you can just see what a difference using the Micron pen does. Kind of just defines it a little bit more. All right, now we are ready for resin, the fun part. So you can go ahead and clean up any of your paint that you're not using anymore. If you still have quite a bit of paint and you would like to keep it, all you have to do is slide these bags into a Ziploc bag, and they'll keep forever. That acrylic paint lasts so long. Okay, so this is the part you're going to want to make sure your table is covered. I'm just going to use one of these trays that we have in the studio, and then you're going to take those 4 plastic cups that you were given in your kit. These are the tall ones. We're going to put this underneath our canvas, and that is just to lift our canvas up off the table so that the resin can drip down, and it should be dripping down onto your plastic table cover so that you have easy cleanup and you don't ruin anything. So you are going to want your plastic cup and your gloves and your 2 things of resin out. And then before you get started doing all of this, I want you to take and decide which of these beads and crushed glass you're going to use on your pumpkin. And I want you to put them in these plastic cups that we gave you. If you end up using more than what we gave you plastic cups for, you may just have to shake them out from the bags. But I'm just going to dump my glass into my cups here that I'm going to use. I'm probably not going to use my orange because I don't know. I don't think I'm going to use my orange. Who knows? I might change my mind. You never know with me. And I don't have enough cups, so I'll just end up shaking the rest out if I end up using it. I might not use the brown, so I don't know. I might not use the green either. I didn't use the green stem. I'll use the brown, not the green. Way to be decisive. Okay, so you can see on our other one, we used brown and the clear seed beads, and we used the green up in the stem, and then we used all the clear glass on this one, but it would have probably looked really cute with some orange in it. I just didn't do orange at the time. All right. I'm going to put my gloves on, and I am going to measure a 1/2 ounce, okay? A 1/2 ounce of A and a 1/2 ounce of B into this measure cup. So you can see this holds 2 ounces. So I just want to find the 1/2 and the 1. And the first part I put in, either whether it's A or B, it doesn't matter, but I'm only going to go up to the 1/2. And so you're not going to be able to see this part because I've got to look on it straight on. So I'm going to pour 1/2 ounce of my resin. I'm just going to pour till it gets close, and then I'm going to stop, and I'm going to let the resin level out a little bit just to make sure that I'm measuring correctly. Now these little bottles are 1 ounce bottles, so you have about 3/4 of an ounce, if not a whole ounce. I'm not sure if they measure, they're 1 ounce bottles, but I'm not sure if it means 1 ounce to the neck or not. That part I don't know. Okay, I have a 1/2 ounce in there, so I'm just gonna put this lid back on. And I still have, I'm gonna say, almost a 1/2 ounce left of part A. All right, so now I'm going to pour in part B, and I'm going up to my 1 ounce marker. Part B is a little, I don't know, feels a little thinner. I don't think that's true. I think it's actually thicker, but it seems to pour easier, probably because it's heavier. All right, and that's, now I'm to my 1 marker. Okay, now we're gonna take our popsicle stick and we're gonna set a timer for 3 minutes, about 3 to 4 minutes. 3 minutes is good. I think I tell you 4 in the instructions, but 3 is fine. I can't use my timer because it's being used to record this video, so I'm just gonna watch the clock. And we're gonna stir with our popsicle stick in a circle, and then we're also gonna make sure that we're scraping the sides and that we're pulling the resin part A or part B, whatever was on the bottom. We're making sure that we pull that to the top and we're folding that in. We're gonna continuously fold it in, scrape the sides, and stir in a circle over and over and over. We don't want to vigorously stir. We just want a nice, slow, steady stir to mix these two parts of resin together. And I'll shut up and we're gonna mix for 3 minutes, and then I will come back and I'll just forward the video up. Okay, see you back in about 2.5 minutes. Okay, our 2.5 minutes are up, so we've mixed our resin for 3 minutes. And now we are going to pour our resin onto our canvas, and we only want to pour about half of it on. We're just gonna drizzle it back and forth to get a thin layer on there. You see, just drizzling a little bit back and forth. And then I'm going to stop. And I'm gonna try to keep one hand clean so I can pour my beads in my glass without getting resin all over everything. This resin is sticky and messy. So I'm just using one gloved finger to kind of push my resin around on my canvas all over. I need more resin, but I just want one thin layer here to start. Okay, I'm gonna pick this up and show you. You see, you can see it's all there, just thin. All right, and okay, now I am going to take my glass that I want and I'm going to sprinkle it where I want it. Now this is where your toothpick comes in handy, and you can move your beads around after you get them on there if you don't like where they ended up. Which, yeah, I want to move mine around a little bit already. I don't like where those ended up. I wanted those to stay in the stem. But now keep in mind that the beads will likely stick to your stick, so you might have to move them yet again. And you can use your toothpick or your popsicle stick. And then I'm going to take my big crushed glass and I'm going to sprinkle that along the bottom. And I'm going to use my green or the turquoise, and I'm going to mix that in there as well. And then the beads, the clear beads, I'm going to use those too. I'm going to come along just in the spines. All right, I'm not going to use all of those. And I'm going to bring my stick back up, and I'm just going to move things where I want it. All right. And then I'm gonna take my resin and I'm gonna come back over top. And this time I'm just gonna drizzle real lightly, just thin layer. I'm gonna try and get my glass so that it is making sure that it's going to stay down. You probably won't use all of this resin that you mixed. But you could. I am not going to use all of mine. Maybe I will. Now if you have a hair dryer, you can hair dry this a little bit just to move your resin around, but you have to be very careful. You don't want to cook your resin. You cook your resin, it's it burns it. Right, so now you can see why we gave you table cover, right? And remember I said this is going to drip off the edges. Just going to go ahead and let it drip off the edge. And it may pull apart, pull away from the edges because it's self-leveling. And there's still quite a bit of resin left in my cup. I'm not going to use it. Try to make the resin hit the spaces where it's pulling apart, but it's gonna just continue to pull apart in most cases. So I wouldn't stress it too much. I am gonna come down here. I love how these turquoise stones look on the background of the canvas. So I was gonna just pull a couple of those stones down so that you can see them on the canvas. What a fun project. I really, really like this. Okay, that's all I'm gonna do. Now, it's so cool. I just love it, you guys. I hope you had fun with this. I hope that this created some kind of spark of wanting to do something else with resin and glass. Melissa and I are always trying to come up with different things that we can do to have some fun and be creative and be crafty. And in turn, if that's something that we can get for you guys, we always look for that kind of stuff, and we love to do that. So we hope that you find new crafts and talents that you didn't think that you had when you're doing a project from us. So all right, well, be sure to message us with your finished projects so we can see what they look like. We're very excited about this project, and we are going to just let our canvases sit for about 12 hours undisturbed. So I would say just come back to it tomorrow. Come back to it tomorrow and clean up then. All right, guys, we hope that you love this project. If you have any questions, make sure you give us a shout out, and we will see you next month.